Hello, everyone. Forest Focus. As ever on Wednesdays, we try to bring you an interview from in and around Nottingham Forest. And this week, I'm delighted to be joined by the club's academy manager, Chris Mcguane, to discuss his role and how the Reds are looking to continue and build on their proud tradition of producing some top young talent. Chris, good to have you with us. How are you doing?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Thanks for having me, Matt.
Yeah, not a problem at all. I was just going to kick off asking for some background on yourself, your journey to Forest. I know time's short because you've got a dash to Ireland to see your daughter in the Dancing World Championship, so you must be a busy man away from the pitch. But what's your journey been like to get to Forest and where you're pointing your career now?
Yeah, started very early, Matt. Started kind of at the grassroots and coaching a local side. Started really young when I was 14, 15, just helping out, and then progressed to spend some time in America when I left and finished school and coached over there, and that was probably my first introduction into coaching and working with players, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Ended up coming back to England and first started out working at Milton Keynes Dons when they moved from London to Milton Keynes, and worked in their community scheme as a football development officer, and ran a lot of the development and elite programs for them. So the programs that sat very much below the academy sides. And then I quickly progressed into working within the academy and worked across the majority of the age groups there, before then joining Watford as a technical skills coach, assistant academy manager, and then took on the role at Watford as head of the academy manager for a number of years. Thoroughly enjoyed my time at the club there. And then 5 years ago, just over 5 years ago, I joined, obviously, Nottingham Forest, assistant academy manager at the time, very much working on the operational and the strategic direction of the academy. At this point, I'd kind of hung up the coaching or the boots, so to speak, and then obviously in the summer was delighted to take on the role as a head of academy, and obviously one that I'm very proud and privileged to have the opportunity to lead us as an academy and as a club forward.
So when I one of the reasons I do this and got into journalism because I knew I would never make it as a player. What was your playing career like? Was it always coaching for you? And it branched out from when you were like, you think you said you were about 14 or 15. Was coaching always a thing for you over playing then?
Yeah, I enjoy playing. I really did enjoy playing and played at a good level. But coaching was my main passion. I started just helping out in the grassroots, and went along and was picking up cones initially as a 14, 15-year-old, but then started to take the first qualification back in the day, which was what they called the junior team managers qualification, that the FA run. Obviously very different now in terms of the qualifications that you can gain and the pathway that you can go on. But yeah, I had a real passion for coaching and working with players and young players and helping them. And I really went to I threw everything into studying about the game and just became immersed in it, really. And that was my real passion, and that kind of took over from a play, and I continued to play into 21, 22 in the non-league, probably your equivalent of where you're at, kind of your conference, national conference, north south level. But the coaching really took over, and you have to immerse yourself into these positions. They are so rewarding, but they are very unsociable in terms of coaching takes place in your evenings and your weekends. And obviously that's when kind of you would train at the same time as well. So yeah, coaching became my real focus and my real passion from a young age. And working with young players and developing young players has been something that I've thoroughly enjoyed and continue to enjoy now. So yeah, no, it was definitely something that I got into very early, and kind of that trajectory has not stopped, really.
How much has Forest's academy developed in the time? I mean, even in the time you've been there, but before that, I remember when Paul Hart and Nick Marshall were there. We probably had 5 staff, something like that. I don't know. And now I was watching a clip from the Forest Community or Academy program where you had like a player well-being officer and stuff like that. Has it just been an explosion of the way the academy's developed in the last decade or so?
It has, yeah. I'd probably say since the introduction of the EPPP process, sorry, that's kind of been a massive driving force in terms of how academies have moved forward. When I first got involved, like you say, there was probably 5, 6, 7, 8 people that worked from a full-time basis. You know, we're across our group of academy staff, full-time, part-time, we're probably hitting roughly just about 150 people at the minute that are supporting our young players' journeys. So there's been a massive resource that has gone in across all academies and especially ours in the past year since the summer to really enhance the offering that we provide our players. It isn't just having coaches anymore. We have a huge multidisciplinary team, analysis, medical, player care, safeguarding, psychology, operations. I've probably missed one and someone will tell me off, but yeah, there's a huge amount of work that goes into it now, and the resource that goes into helping these young players, not only on the pitch but off the pitch now, is a massive part of what we do, Matt.
How's it been for you then, taking over from Gary Brazil? I know some of the fans have got massive amount of respect for. Was it easier that you'd been here for a few years, and was the transition a bit more straightforward, or is it quite daunting when you reel off a very long list of people and roles, and 150 people there, and you're overseeing it all in conjunction with other people as well, no doubt? But how are you finding that process?
Yeah, really enjoyed it. It's a huge honour for me to head up the academy here at the club, and I know it's a huge responsibility for us to, deliver the right program for our players. But no, absolutely loved it. Really delighted and pleased with the progress that we've made since the summer, and since I've come in. We've made a huge amount of developments and strides forwards in terms of what we offer the players and the program. As I said there, we've had some fantastic backing from the football club to increase our provision and develop our philosophy and develop our way of working with our young players that we're really proud of, really excited about. We're on a journey that we're really looking forward to implementing and obviously becoming an academy that is renowned for providing real quality experiences to our young players and being different and thinking differently to perhaps what other academies may traditionally have worked and looked like. But I thoroughly enjoyed the first what was it, 7-8 months, something like that. The seasons absolutely fly by every single year and go really fast, but the progress and the development that we've made both on the pitch with our philosophy and style of play, but also off it in terms of what we offer the players and the holistic support that goes around our young players. I've been delighted with the progress that both us as a group of staff and players and an academy that we've made.
I do want to pick your brains about change, the offering that you have and what's different. But one of the things that Forest Academy has had as far back as I've been interviewing people, going back to Paul Hart, has always been, developing good people, whether they make it or not. I mean, I assume that's still one of your primary factors, and things can always branch off if you're developing good people. It helps them become good players in a sense, I guess.
100%, Matt. We have a huge focus in terms of our work that we do with the players off the pitch. You may have seen recently our education team were recognised through our SEP results, where through our players, we achieved #1 ranking across all football clubs for the results that our players got from an academic point of view off the pitch. And again, it's huge recognition to the emphasis we play on developing not only the players on the pitch but also them off the pitch as well. And our player care and safeguarding team do a wonderful job in terms of our informal education, our off the field life skills education for the players. And obviously it's stage and age appropriate. What we would work with our under-9s and our under-10s in our foundation phase would be very different to what our under-18s or our B team players focus on. But we're delighted again with the progress that we've made and what we've offered our young players, and really enhanced the offering. But you're right, it's always been a staple diet of the academy and the football club is that we develop good individuals and good people as well as being good players, and that hasn't changed and won't change in the future at all.
I wanted to ask you about the player pathway to the first team, because I think ultimately that's what a lot of fans will be interested in. Hopefully you can drop in a few bits of insight as to how you get them there. But in principle, is it harder now to get players to the first team now we're a Premier League club, and obviously we hope we'll stay there, because it's such a step up from the Championship to the Premier League, or any level to the Premier League? Has that made a more difficult challenge for your job, for you guys in the academy?
I think the challenge is always there, Matt, in terms of actually trying to develop young players to go and have a career in the game. Obviously, first and foremost, we want it to be for us at Nottingham Forest, but also recognising that not every player will get the opportunity, and not every young player that comes into the academy is going to be able to fulfil that. So, as it providing those experiences for them that can help them go and achieve scholarships or careers away from the club as well, is also seen as a success. But yeah, no, the challenge is there, and we're working very hard to ensure that we give our young players and continue to give them an opportunity to progress and develop. That's continued again this season. This club has always been one that has developed and placed an emphasis on our young players. We've obviously seen in more recent times, Joe Gardner's been exposed from a first team perspective around the first team squad on a match day, as is other players. But internally, we're always working and looking at ways that we can provide opportunities and experiences for our young players. And again, this season with Nuno and his group of staff, our under 18s or under 8 B team players have had exposure to training with the first team, so they get those opportunities to continue to develop that side of it, and it's done at the right time and the right stage for each individual player. But that pathway has always been there at Nottingham Forest, and there's no reason why that won't continue in the future as well.
Yeah, you mentioned Joe. I wanted to ask you about Joe, because it's someone who fans will have seen. He made his senior debut in the FA Cup. What's kind of the roadmap for him, do you think? I know every player is different, but is there a path you would want him to follow now? Does he go out on loan, or is that something you'll review in the summer? How does the next few months and years work for Joe, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we keep all options open, Matt. Obviously, we make it very individualized to every player, because every player's journey can look very, very different. And during these years under 18s and B team, things can change very, very quickly in terms of how they may develop into a certain position or what they do. So we keep it very open, and without kind of swerving your question specifically on Joe. It's about finding the right challenge point for them at the right time, and what that might look like going into next season or future years is important that we stay across that. And it does look different, and some players will stay with us and work with us within our environment, whether that's with the under 18s, the B team, or the first team. Whether we think there's the right opportunity for players to go out on loan for a period of time, whether that's 6 months or a season, with a view to then coming back in to seeing where they're at, and we'll monitor and keep an eye on them through. We've introduced a new player pathways department at the club this year, which monitors all players that we've got out on loan very, very closely, more so than we've ever done previously, to ensure that we are maximizing the opportunity for them to develop. But specifically in Joe's case, he's had some brilliant exposure recently to the first team, especially around some of the games. He's well aware that he's going to spend time in with the B team as well as the first team, and we'll continue to monitor his progress and his development as he goes to then find the right opportunities for him to pick up the experiences that he needs, and when he's ready to step into that first team football on a regular basis.
One of the things I'm interested in is how do you track a player and sort of make sure they don't slip through the net? I mean, going way back, probably Sean Wright Phillips is a really good example at Forest, who they let go because I think they thought he was too small. And I guess, you know, you could have a player at 14 who you think's got no chance, but by the time they're 16, you think he could be the real deal. How do you monitor that and make sure you don't make a premature decision on them or push them in the wrong way? How's that done on an individual basis at Forest?
Yeah, you have to be really patient with young players, and especially during that youth development phase, so that kind of the under 13s to under 16 age group, because maturation is changing massively. The boys are growing at considerable rates, or some may be growing early, some might be growing a little bit later. So each player has an individual development plan, which is monitored every 6 weeks and fed back to both players, parents, and all the key stakeholders around the players. So it's specific for each individual player, and one player might be at that point focusing on something from a technical point of view. You know, another player at that time might be focusing on something from an athletic point of view in terms of actually working and developing his agility, whilst still working on the football side as well, and vice versa. So it's about kind of taking your time to look at each individual player, really looking at where they're at and where they're developing and what their kind of flight path and their progression looks like, both in the short term but the longer term as well. And you know, we've got a real good group of staff that get around the players, that meet regularly every week to discuss the individual players and where they're at and how they're progressing and how we support them, because you know, we have to accept in our, you know, we're working with young players, and the journey isn't you know, straight line all the time that goes in an upward curve, and they have moments where they're performing really well, and they have moments where it dips, and we have to be there to support them during the good times and also the times when they're developing, but recognizing that that's okay. You know, we're an academy who encourage our players to make mistakes, encourage our players to try new things, and we're not going to be there on the side of a pitch in a training session or a game or in an analysis session where, you know, we're trying to take that creativity away from them. You know, we want them to express themselves and try things on the pitch, and that makes them different from everybody else. So it would be silly of us to then go and criticize when, you know, a player is trying to take a player on with a specific skill that we've worked with him, to then try and stop him from doing that, regardless of what position he may play in. Obviously, as they get closer to the first team, they'll start to then work closely around you know, maybe one or two positions and specifics that they're going to work on to help them get closer to their development and where they're looking to get to. But you know, we very much work with each individual player on what their strengths are and try to improve them further.
So is the whole thing, I guess, has to be kind of collaborative, because if I was a 14-year-old in your academy, I'd be convinced I was going to make it no matter what, and you know, probably be no managing expectations and all that kind of thing. But you probably have to do an element of that and work with parents and to work with the player and the coaches, and it all has to come together the way you want it to, hopefully.
Of course you do. I mean, what we provide is an opportunity for our young players. We provide no guarantees that, you know, that they're going to go on and have successful careers. You know, we're working very hard with them to give them every chance and every opportunity and give them experiences. And I think one thing that academies do, and one thing that we're really keen on, is to give our young players experiences that they might not get elsewhere. You know, we've had recently, just as one example, our under 18s group with some under 19s have obviously been to Spain on a consistent basis and played against some real good opposition that really stretches and challenges them. You know, experiences that, you know, they might not get from other avenues or other walks of life. So, but you know, the communication aspects and working collaboratively with all of our key people is massive, Matt. And you know, we want to make sure that, you know, everybody's fully involved and invested in each individual player's development, whether that's the coaching staff that are working with them, the medical staff, the performance team, our player care and well-being team, our analysis, or even the parents. You know, we all have a huge role to support each individual player to help them get to where they want to get to, and educating our parents, which we've done recently. And Alex Bailey, our player care officer last Monday hosted a night where we had over 100 of our parents in attendance, and really to support and educate them and go on the journey with them as well. So, if there's a consistent message, for example, that we provide, having the parents provide that message to the players and to their sons as well, really supports their development, rather than two messages. The coaches staff or the academy staff giving one message and the parents giving a completely different messages. Then the boys are going to, come to training, come to games, and they're going to be a little bit confused as to what they should be doing or what they should be focusing on. So collaboratively working together for the development and the better of the individual is really important to us.
You mentioned the under-18s playing those top sides. I mean, at what point do results matter for the team? Because I guess at that age, you're starting to make decisions on individual players. You want to win games as well, but at what point do you kind of put the individual versus the team result, which becomes paramount then for you?
Yeah, the most important thing for our academy journey is the individual, Matt. We want to give them experiences right throughout of lots of different challenge points, lots of different fixtures, variety in training, so that when they step into the city ground, and they're playing for the first team in the Premier League, that the experiences that they've had have held them in good stead, and they've got some reference points that they can go back to. Under 18s, under B team level, the players and the staff, of course, want to experience what it's like for the players to go in and win games, but it isn't our primary concern. It's important that our players have a variety and a varied experience, and actually recognizing that winning games is important and part of their development, but also is drawing and losing games, and that part of that process is important, that they understand what it's like and why they may have got to the point of winning games, and why they may have obviously maybe not got the result they wanted, and that they learn from it. And again, they have those experiences, because when they go into that first team environment, we fully recognize that 3 points and winning football matches of primary importance to everybody connected with the football club. So, but having those experiences as they go through, and educating them and giving them those experiences, far more beneficial for us at this stage than focusing purely on the results and making the results the be all and end all and the success marker. There's so much more that we can measure in terms of what success looks like for our young players right across the pathway, from our youngest age groups to our oldest age groups. So it's really important that we give them that variety, and it is about individuals for us. Yes, it's within that, and we will work with our older players on playing in a structure and a style and a philosophy. Our B team aligns massively to our first team in terms of how we coach and how we educate and how we develop them in formations and a style of play that's really, really closely linked. But our younger players, our under 13s, our under 14s, for example, will play lots of different formats, lots of different formations, 2v2s, 3v3s, 4v4s, 5v5s, 6v6s. Our 11v11 football comes a lot later, because we want our young players to have lots of touches on the ball, and we believe that that's what will provide them success to when they go further down the line. And the result on a weekend, on a Sunday with the games that we play of our real young groups isn't our focus. There's much more measures of how we measure our success and how we measure that development of players.
You've sort of gone into my next questions there, actually, around formations and tactics. No, it's good. It's good. So is that kind of, I don't know, under 15s, under 16s, you'll play like a hard and fast 4-2-3-1 for a few weeks, or is it not as simple as that then?
Yeah, variety. So as I mentioned there, our B team will align as closely with our first team, and do align closely with what our first team are working in. But from under 18s down, we'll expose them. And again, it's probably that word variety and experiences. we provide them with a number of different opportunities and different formations that they could come up as they go on their journey. What we don't want is to, always play, one formation, whether that's 4-2-3-1 or 4-4-2 or 4-3-3, and they become very good at playing in that position or that formation, that when they go into their older age groups and they go into a first team environment, if a manager or a head coach asks them to play in a slightly different way and a slightly different formation, if they've never experienced that before, that can be quite daunting for players. So providing them with that as they go through the academy journey, and if a player joins as an under 9 and graduates 12, 13, 14, 15 years later, there's a lot of experiences that we can work on, rather than kind of, whether pigeonholing is the right word, and just going, right, well, we're just going to play 4-2-3-1. For me, that isn't developing the players from a real holistic point of view. And we've got a very unique and style that is evident at the City Ground and with our first team, in terms of the way that we want to play football and how we want to be known as a club. But it's important to us that we give our players the opportunities to work towards that, because our under 9 players coming through now may be 10, 11, 12, 15 years away from our first team. And I think if we look back I know when I reflect and I look back as to what football looked like 15 years ago, there's obviously a huge amount of similarities, but there's a huge amount of differences in terms of, we have sat there and gone that every goalkeeper has to be playing out and really, really comfortable with their feet 15 to 20 years ago. We probably weren't. So that's part of our role within the academy, is that we're trying to predict what the future looks like and what the modern trends look like. And we do a lot of research into that, and looking at a lot of the insights that UEFA and FIFA provide as to what it looks like in major competitions, European competitions, the World Cups, the European Cups, etc., to give our players a program that we think is what the future game is going to look like.
Yeah, I was going to ask about things like tactical education stuff, because a lot of teams now play the really high press and things like that. I mean, I guess you don't want to overload players with information as well at a young age. So how does that work? What age are you kind of pushing that kind of information into players?
Again, it's all about those experiences. So the tactical element for us really comes into our thinking when they progress through to the latter stages of our youth development phase, our under 16s, and then going into the professional development phase. Although, again, even at our youth development phase or under 16s, the focus is very much on the individual and how they're developing within that team environment. So our focus is very much more on that rather than tactical. But going into our under 18s and B team, there will be an emphasis on how they play as a team and what it looks like in that formation, and how units may work together. Partnerships on the pitch around positions. So it does become more of a focus as we progress through the age groups within the academy. But our younger age groups is all about technical. It's all about trying to outplay their opponents, either individually, in combinations, as units, and coming up with some real creative and exciting ways of outplaying. And I think if you for the supporters that will be listening in, I'm sure they would have seen from the footage for our under 18s and our B team that we've had some fantastic moments this year of our players really outplaying opposition teams, in terms of the way that they may build up possession from the goalkeeper and from the back through into the middle, and then further forward into the attacking areas, and being really creative with some of the goals they've scored. So it does become more of an emphasis as we go through. But again, it is very much, we're looking at that outplay and that exciting technical players that can develop as well.
You mentioned Nuno earlier, and we mentioned Joe getting his first team chance, and young players training with the first team. So have you had conversations with Nuno or his staff just to give us a view of how he views the academy and young talent coming through?
Yeah, there's a real strong link between the academy and the first team, which is really important for us to ensure that the young players that the opportunities that they get, and the communication is vital across both academy and first team, especially when the young players step up, Matt, and we're getting feedback and we're providing feedback to them on to where they're at, what they're working on, and then vitally, when they're training and in and around the first team as well, we're getting that information back, and it's very open. The opportunity to, for our young players to go and train means that our staff can observe and watch, and we share information and we share data from the training sessions, we share footage, so that communication is there. This club has always had a proud history, of developing young players, and that's built on some real solid foundations internally that probably the supporters wouldn't see on a day-to-day. But the communication and the real tightness of the groups is important for the development of young players, and we have to continue to ensure that we're giving our lads the experiences and the opportunities to go into that first team environment, and when they do, supporting them around that journey, because some will go and train and do very, 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 very well, but we know that potentially that's just part of their development, and that actually their exposure to getting into the first team on a consistent basis may come and will be further down the line. Some will obviously be a lot closer to it now. Joe more recently, and then, as I mentioned, Josh Powell, who went away with the first team in pre-season and unfortunately picked up a long-term injury. So different pathways, but the communication and the dialogue between both, the first team staff and Nuno and the academy is really strong.
Does that first team training toughen them up, or is that the wrong way for me to look at it?
Depends what you describe as toughen up.
Probably a senior player giving them, I don't know, you hear tales from years gone by of nicking their clothes and stuff like that. That wouldn't happen now, but a tough tackle in training and stuff like that. Does it give them an edge that they need to learn as senior footballers, or is that an outdated way of looking at it?
Yeah, I think what it does is the boys recognise that the speed and the intensity of the play when they go into the first team, is ramped up with them. So that provides them a real good opportunity to really test their own abilities within that environment, and obviously, the physicality of and the athleticism of the players within the first team environment gives them that challenge as well, because we have to remember a lot of our young players at 16, 17, 18, 19 are still developing from an athletic. They've still got plenty of growing, whereas coming up against some of our senior professionals in the first team squad, they've reached full maturation, they've reached their full growing potential. So we have to recognize that that's an important part for them as well. But the experience of them, and I would without having the exact numbers in front of me, although I have got it, majority, if not all, of our under 18 players and B team players have had the opportunity to train with our first team. So giving them that exposure is really, really important. That actually it helps them in their next stage of their development, and for them to see how the levels of intensity and how quick the players play, but also in terms of how quick they may move the ball, but also make decisions and think one or two steps ahead, really is beneficial for the lads. And again, it's just part of their development and journey at the right stages and the right time for them. So it's an important part of their development, as kind of all of the journey and experiences are as they go through the academy.
I know you've got to catch a flight, so I won't keep you too much longer, but just throw a couple more your way. Are players still living in digs? Because I know, players like Lewis Mcguane and David Prutton, who are regulars on this podcast, not Lewis because he was local, but some of those lads lived in digs around the back of the City ground. What I don't think that happens anymore. Why do younger players live now?
We do, yeah. So we do have some fantastic, what we call host families now, digs, I suppose, in the old term. So we've got some fantastic host families that look after our boys, remarkably well. Last count, I think we've got about 21 players that are residing in host families, and then we also have boys that are still living at home, depending on their age, and we have boys that have ventured out and got their own apartments and flats. So lots of different ways that we support the players. In terms of whether they're in with a host family, in their own place, still back at home. They're all on different journeys, but we do have across that under 18s and B team squads, a number of players that are with are in digs or with that host families.
Is player recruitment these days easier or harder? Because I know you bring good young talent over from Ireland and stuff like that, but you've got clubs locally like Derby and Leicester who aren't currently Premier League clubs who might be able to say to parents, "Oh, we can get your lad into the first team quicker." So has that become a different challenge now for you or not?
I think the recruitment landscape changed, Matt, really around Brexit. It limited the opportunity for us to recruit from further afield and maybe bring some boys in from Europe. The club has always been and will continue to be to provide local Nottingham players and boys an opportunity to connect with the football club. That's steeped in our kind of tradition. I think we've seen from the boys that have come through the academy before me, and they've had a real connection with Nottingham, having been born in Nottingham and come through the academy right from the early ages. So player recruitment is always a really challenging environment, a challenging market. We want to give young players in Nottingham and the surrounding areas and surrounding counties, that opportunity to come in with us. But we also recognise as that how big that the global game is getting, and the opportunities that could be provided to us to expand our recruitment up and down the country, which we've done. You mentioned we've had some boys across from Northern Ireland and other countries in the past, and we'll continue to explore those opportunities as well to enhance what we're doing and to continue to give players an opportunity to progress through the academy and into the first team.
Just lastly, then, my reference point for academy is through the people I know, like Paul and Nick Marshall, who's really interesting, who you probably know through Liverpool, and
yes, yep.
How the Forest Academy was and how the Liverpool Academy is now. It sounds like back in the day it was quite tough for young players, but they came out good men and good players. So what's the kind of, how does it look now at Forest? Because you've talked about how you do things differently. What's kind of changed then at Forest in the last 5-10 years or so that fans might not know about?
I think probably the biggest change we've implemented this year is really making our program as individualized as we can for each player and each stage that they go on. But it's about our younger players, our foundation phase players, our pre-academy, so under 9s, 10s, 11s. We want them to enjoy and have loads and loads of fun playing football. We want them to just fall in love with the game, and we want to give them an environment that isn't that really tough, hard knocks environment. We want them to come in and enjoy themselves and be really supportive, but give them a real challenging environment as well. We don't want it to be easy. We want the challenge to be there, but we want them to have successes, and we want them to be able to make mistakes and learn from them. So making the program really, really individualized is important, and supporting them as much as possible, because there are so many highs and lows for players across the academy journey. There's so many highs and lows for professional footballers that probably go very much unseen and unheard of. So it's important that we give them that support. We give them those experiences to help them along the journey as well. And having a group of really experienced and qualified staff around them that can really support and help. Our player care safeguarding team, our psychology department, from analysis to coaching, giving them the quality around them that can really help and support them is important as well. But we want them to really enjoy coming into Nottingham Forest, getting lots of experiences and enjoy the journey when they come through, because naturally across the journey there's so many highs and there's so many lows. For example, going and winning games on a weekend or losing games on a weekend, players will react and deal with it in different ways when they're going through their maturation stages at a younger age. They can lose balance, coordination, which means their touch slightly goes. So they're dealing with lots and lots of things. Our current under 16 players who have received scholarship decisions and whether they'll become full-time employees of the club next year are currently just about to sit their GCSE exams whilst trying to finish a season that kind of crosses over. Our younger players in September will potentially move from one school to another school, from primary school to secondary school. So there's so many speed bumps or barriers along the way that we want to support them with. So it's important that we kind of create the right environment for them. That is a real challenging one, real enjoyable one, but they get a lot of support as they go through the process, so that we continue to develop those good players and we continue to develop good people that ultimately, when they go and step into a first team environment and hopefully go and have either a long career in the game, is that they've got all of the traits and all of the bits that they need to support them on that journey. And equally as well, as if football isn't the destination they end up, and they end up going and achieving in another sport or another industry, then hopefully what we've provided with them across the course of the time gives them the opportunity that that it gives them the skill set that they can go and excel in a different walk of life or a different industry. And as silly as it might sound, Matt, like our analysis sessions, for example, are no longer just the analysis stands up at the front of the room and we get the clips up on the screen. The players will present, the players will go away and clip their own bits from training, from matches. So if, for example, they're presenting in front of their teammates and their peers, that if they were to not become a professional footballer and have a long career in the game, when they go into an industry where they may need to manage a group of people and they're standing up in front of 20, 30 staff presenting, they've had that experience as well. And that kind of stuff, what the knock-on of the program that we deliver and how we deliver it, probably goes unnoticed and probably unrecognized until actually you see them in front of a camera, in front of people, talking about their own experiences. And I think probably one that I saw recently was we had a number of boys go into a local school, and to see how confident they were to speak in front of a classroom, based off they've had that experience with us, was really, really powerful, and was really, really enlightening in terms of, for us, in terms of that the program that we're putting on isn't just focusing on them being footballers, but also them as people, and helping them hopefully have a good start in life as well.
What age group's that? Who went into the school?
So that was our under 18s.
Wow, God, I couldn't have done that.
Yeah.
We barely speak to anyone as a 17 or 18-year-old, so no, fair play to them.
Our off the pitch program, education program, our life skills program is very much about developing them holistically as well. So as much as we might educate, say take our under 18s, for example, on a number of topics, that could be anything from online safety to how to cook, to even simple things like managing, opening a bank account, setting up doctor's appointments, etc. It's the other side as well. So seeing them develop in their personal skills of how they communicate, because naturally nowadays we're probably all guilty, as we spend a lot of time in front of a laptop or a lot of time in front of a phone, and our young players generally now communicate by texting each other on various different platforms. So it's really important to us that they have the opportunity still to develop those skills of talking to people, looking people in the eye, etc. Those things are still important, as much as don't get me wrong, the most important thing is we're trying to develop them as footballers, but we see a massive knock-on effect of both sides of it as well. So it's really important.
No, absolutely. Right, we shall leave it there because I know Chris has got to dash. But if you have enjoyed this, do us a favour, hit like, hit subscribe. You can become a channel member. Give us a good review on iTunes. I do enjoy reading those. Right, Chris, thank you very much. That was really interesting. I hope you enjoyed that.
Lovely. Thanks, Matt. Much appreciated.
And we shall be back tomorrow with our full match preview of the Palace game. But in the meantime, we shall see you soon.